They gave him their weakest warrior as a joke. The alien princess became his strongest ally. Marcus stepped off the transport ship, his boots crunching lightly on the alien soil. The sky above was a pale green, streaked with violet clouds that shimmered softly. He had seen many planets in his life, but this one was different. There was a strange quietness, almost as if the world itself was watching him. He adjusted his gear and took a deep breath. Marcus was a human strategist and trainer. His job was simple: help allies defend themselves, train warriors, and ensure victory in battles. But this planet, Urindor, was known for its proud warrior society. Its people were strong, disciplined, and clever, or so Marcus thought. The moment he arrived at the palace, a group of alien leaders approached him. They were tall, with smooth blue skin, sharp eyes, and a posture that radiated authority. Marcus noticed the subtle smirks on some of their faces. They whispered among themselves, but Marcus didn't understand their language. He only saw their amusement. "This will be interesting," he muttered under his breath. The leaders led him into a grand training hall. It was huge, open, with glowing symbols along the walls and floors that seemed to pulse slightly. In the center stood a figure. She was small compared to the other aliens, maybe only 16 years old by human standards. Her hair was a soft silver, her skin pale, and her eyes wide with nervousness. "This is Leora," one of the leaders said with a laugh that barely hid mockery. "She will be your warrior." Marcus raised an eyebrow. He had trained warriors from many worlds, but this girl looked fragile. Her posture was slouched, and she fidgeted with her hands as she looked at him. "The weakest warrior?" Marcus asked, trying to keep the surprise out of his voice. The leader smiled. "Yes, she has potential. Maybe you can do something with it." Marcus's lips pressed into a thin line. He had been given many difficult assignments before, but he never underestimated anyone. Still, the court's laughter echoed in his mind. If Leora was really weak, this would not be an easy challenge. "All right," Marcus said slowly. "Let's begin." The first few days were difficult. Leora stumbled constantly, misjudging distances, missing basic attacks, and struggling to follow Marcus's instructions. Every time she fell or missed, the alien leaders chuckled. Even the other trainees whispered and laughed behind her back. Marcus felt frustration rising, but he also noticed something. Leora never gave up. Even after failing repeatedly, she stood up and tried again. Her hands shook, her breathing was heavy, but she kept moving. After the third day, Marcus approached her. "Why do you keep trying even though everyone laughs at you?" he asked. Leora looked down at her feet, her voice barely a whisper. "If I stop, I prove them right. I don't want them to win." Marcus studied her for a long moment. Most people give up under pressure. Most warriors only train when praised. But this girl, she had a fire in her that no one noticed. "Good," he said finally. "Then we'll work together. You're going to be stronger than they think." From that day on, Marcus changed his approach. He didn't just show Leora how to fight, he showed her how to think, how to watch an opponent's movements, how to predict attacks, how to use her small size to her advantage. Every session he encouraged her. Every mistake became a lesson. Slowly, Leora began to improve. She was still clumsy compared to other warriors, but her mind was sharp. She learned strategies faster than anyone expected. Marcus noticed she had a natural ability to see patterns, to spot weaknesses that stronger warriors often overlooked. The other trainees continued to mock her, but now Marcus had a plan. He began setting exercises where her intelligence and agility mattered more than brute strength. For the first time, Leora began to shine, and the laughter slowly faded. One evening, after a long day of training, Marcus and Leora sat on the palace terrace. The sky had turned dark violet, and the two moons glowed softly above them. Leora wiped sweat from her forehead and leaned back. "Do you think I'll ever be strong enough?" she asked quietly. Marcus looked at her. "You already are, you just don't see it yet." Leora's eyes widened. I feel so weak. Everyone says it." Marcus shook his head. Strength isn't only about muscles, it's about courage, cleverness, and heart. You have all three. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. For the first time, Leora smiled without hesitation. Thank you, she whispered. Their bond grew over the following weeks. Marcus learned about Leora's life, how she had been trained from a young age to fight, but had never met anyone who believed in her. The alien court had always seen her as weak, a joke, someone who would never lead. Marcus's belief in her gave her a new sense of purpose. Then one morning the news arrived. A neighboring planet, hostile and aggressive, was mobilizing its forces. They had attacked border settlements, and the alien leaders feared a full invasion. Marcus and Leora were summoned to the command hall. The leaders' eyes were serious now, no laughter. This is no training exercise, one said. Your warriors are skilled, but the enemy is cunning. You will lead them in defense preparations. You, Marcus, are the strategist. And you, he pointed at Leora, will be on the front lines. Leora's heart raced. She had never faced real combat before. She felt fear, panic, and doubt all at once. But Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You've trained for this, he said firmly. Trust yourself. Trust what you've learned. The alien leaders gave them only a day to prepare. Marcus immediately assessed the situation. The enemy had more numbers, heavier armor, and advanced technology. If the warriors attacked directly, they would lose. They needed strategy, not strength. Marcus turned to Leora. This is your chance. Use what you know. Watch, move, and act. I will guide you. You will lead the others in critical points. Leora swallowed hard. I can do this. You can, Marcus said with confidence that made her believe it. The next day, the enemy forces arrived. From the high ground, Marcus and Leora watched the battlefield. The alien warriors waited, tense and unsure. Many glanced at Leora, the supposed weakling, with disbelief. She felt the weight of their doubt pressing on her shoulders. Then the first wave of the enemy moved forward. Marcus shouted instructions, but Leora was the one on the field. She guided small squads, helping them move in formations Marcus had designed. She spotted gaps in the enemy's defense, rerouted soldiers, and gave quick orders that changed the flow of the battle. Her movements were agile and precise. Where brute strength failed, her cleverness succeeded. She anticipated enemy attacks, dodged dangerous blows, and used the terrain to her advantage. Slowly, the tide of the battle shifted. Marcus watched with pride. The girl everyone had mocked was proving herself in real combat. She was brave, smart, and capable. And she was just beginning. By the end of the day, the enemy retreated. The alien leaders stared in shock. Leora had led critical maneuvers that prevented massive losses. The warriors who had laughed at her now bowed in respect. Marcus approached her, smiling. You did it. You were amazing. Leora's eyes shone with tears of relief and pride. We did it, she said softly. You believed in me. Marcus shook his head. No, you believed in yourself. I just helped you see it. That night, as the palace celebrated, Marcus and Leora sat quietly on the terrace again. The moon shone down and the stars glittered in the alien sky. You think they'll ever see me differently now? Leora asked. They already do, Marcus said. But more importantly, you know your own strength. That's all that matters. And for the first time, Leora truly believed it. The girl everyone had dismissed as weak had taken her first steps toward becoming a true warrior, and Marcus knew this was only the beginning. The real challenge was yet to come. The enemy would not give up easily, and the battle for Urindor was far from over. But Marcus and Leora were ready. Together, they would face whatever came next, and no one, no matter how strong or clever, would underestimate them again. White heavy checkmark word count. Words the morning sun rose over Urindor, casting long violet shadows across the palace and training grounds. Marcus and Leora stood at the edge of the battlefield, looking out at the enemy's encampment across the valley. Their previous victory had been small but important. The enemy had retreated, but intelligence reports indicated they were regrouping, and this time with larger forces. Leora tightened the straps of her armor. Her heart raced. She had fought before under Marcus's guidance, but this battle would be different. The stakes were higher. She glanced at Marcus, who was scanning the horizon with a calm, steady gaze. "You ready?" he asked. Leora nodded, though inside she felt a mix of fear and excitement. "I think so," Marcus smiled faintly. "Good. Remember what I taught you. Strength isn't just about fighting. It's about seeing opportunities where others don't. Use your mind as much as your body." The alien leaders gathered the warriors. Many of them still struggled to see Leora as anything more than the girl who had been their joke, but Marcus had already spoken in her favor. "She is your leader in key maneuvers," he said firmly. "Trust her decisions." Some warriors grumbled, but Marcus's tone left no room for argument. Leora felt the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. She took a deep breath. This was her moment. The enemy arrived at midday, their ships hovering low, releasing troops with advanced weapons. They were bigger, faster, and better armed than the first time. Panic rippled among some of the warriors. Leora stepped forward. "Listen to me," she shouted, her voice steady despite the tremor she felt inside. "We can't fight them head-on. Move in small squads, take cover. Focus on weak points. Watch each other's backs." Marcus watched in admiration. The princess who had stumbled over simple exercises now commanded the battlefield with authority. The battle began. Leora moved quickly, dodging blasts and guiding squads. She noticed the enemy focused too much on power and not on strategy. Using her agility and clever thinking, she led small teams to flank the attackers, cutting off supply lines and confusing their formations. In one critical moment, a heavily armored enemy mech appeared, pushing toward the palace. Most warriors froze, unsure how to stop it. Leora didn't hesitate. She signaled 2 squads to distract it while she found a weak spot at its joint. Using a mix of precise movements and timing, she struck at the mech's vulnerable points, causing it to stumble and retreat. Marcus could hardly believe it. Leora, the weakest warrior, was turning the tide of battle. He ran alongside her, coordinating the bigger strategy while she executed it on the ground. Their teamwork was seamless. The alien leaders who had mocked Leora weeks ago now watched in silent awe. Every clever move she made, every small squad she saved, reminded them of the mistake they had made in judging her. Hours passed, and the battle raged. Fatigue set in, but Leora never wavered. She encouraged the soldiers around her, shouted orders when necessary, and stayed focused on the enemy's weaknesses. Marcus could see her confidence growing with each success. Finally, the enemy began to retreat. Their forces were scattered, morale broken, and their strategy in ruins. The alien warriors cheered, many of them running to Leora to show respect. Marcus smiled. She had done it. She had earned her place not by strength alone, but by courage, intelligence, and determination. When the dust settled, Marcus and Leora stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield. The alien sun reflected off the damaged ships and the remnants of enemy forces. Leora's chest heaved, but her eyes shone with pride. "You were amazing," Marcus said, clapping her shoulder. "I never doubted you for a second." Leora shook her head, smiling. "I couldn't have done it without you. You believed in me." Marcus laughed softly. "No, you believed in yourself. I just helped you see it." The alien leaders approached them cautiously. There was a long silence. Finally, one elder spoke. "We were wrong," he admitted. "Leora, you are no longer the weakest. You are our strongest asset. Your wisdom, courage, and skill have saved Erendor." Leora felt a rush of emotions, pride, relief, and a strange warmth of validation. She bowed respectfully. "Thank you," she said softly. "I only did what I had to do." The palace erupted in celebration that night. Feasts were held, songs were sung, and warriors shared stories of Leora's clever maneuvers. Marcus stayed mostly in the background, watching her interact with the people. She had transformed from the shy, underestimated princess into a confident leader, respected by all. As the celebrations wound down, Marcus and Leora found a quiet terrace. The moons hung low in the sky, casting silver light across the palace. "You've changed a lot," Marcus said, leaning against the railing. Leora smiled. "And you helped me see who I really am." "I never thought anyone would believe in me the way you did." Marcus shook his head. "No one can change who you are, Leora. You did this yourself. I just reminded you." They sat in silence for a moment, looking out at the peaceful city below. For the first time, Leora felt truly strong, not just in skill but in heart and mind. She knew challenges would come again, but she also knew she was ready. Over the next few weeks, Marcus continued training the warriors, but his focus shifted. Leora now led advanced exercises, teaching others strategies and tactics. The alien warriors began to follow her guidance without hesitation. The princess who had been a joke was now a symbol of strength, wisdom, and perseverance. One day, the alien leaders approached Marcus with a proposal. "Your guidance has been invaluable," they said. "We wish to honor you for seeing what we could not. You have not only trained our warriors but have changed our understanding of strength." Marcus waved his hand. "I don't need honors. Seeing Leora grow, that is enough," the leaders smiled. "Then we will honor her. She will lead the defense forces officially, and you, Marcus, will always have a place here as her mentor." Leora, standing nearby, felt tears in her eyes. The girl who had once been mocked was now recognized for her true worth. She turned to Marcus. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Marcus smiled. "You did it all yourself." Months later, the alliance with Marcus and Leora proved crucial. The enemy forces returned, but with Leora's leadership, the combined warriors repelled them decisively. Urindor entered a new era of peace, with Leora celebrated as a hero. Marcus eventually returned to his own world, but the bond between him and Leora remained strong. Letters were exchanged, advice given, and friendship maintained across the stars. The alien princess had not only become his strongest ally, but also a symbol of hope for her people, a living proof that even the most underestimated individuals could achieve greatness. As Marcus departed from Urindor, he looked back at the planet one last time. He smiled to himself, thinking of Leora, the warrior he had trained, the girl everyone had doubted, and the hero she had become. And far away, beneath the twin moons, Leora stood tall, looking to the stars, ready for whatever challenges the universe would send her way. She was no longer the weakest. She was the strongest, and she knew it. Months had passed since the battle that had cemented Leora's place as a hero of Urindor. The planet had entered a rare period of peace, yet Marcus and Leora both knew that true threats were never gone for long. Training continued daily, not out of fear, but from the understanding that strength was built constantly, especially in a world where enemies could return without warning. Marcus had remained on Urindor longer than he usually stayed on allied planets. He watched Leora grow into her role, leading not just in combat strategy, but in inspiring the warriors around her. Soldiers who had once doubted her followed her willingly now. Even the elders, once skeptical, sought her advice on matters of defense and diplomacy. One morning, Marcus found Leora practicing alone in the training arena. The early sun glinted off her silver hair as she moved gracefully, combining agility with precise strikes. Her movements were fluid, almost like a dance, but every step had a purpose. "You've come far," Marcus said, leaning against the arena wall. Leora paused, breathing heavily, but smiled. "I still have much to learn." Marcus shook his head. "You've already surpassed everyone here, but what matters is not surpassing others, it's surpassing yourself." Leora looked thoughtful. "I never imagined I would be in this position. I was just weak. Everyone laughed at me." "And yet," Marcus said, "here you are, not just strong but respected. You turned their laughter into admiration." Leora nodded. "And I couldn't have done it without you. You trusted me when no one else would." Marcus smiled faintly. "I didn't trust you, I believed you. There's a difference." As they spoke, a messenger arrived, bowing quickly. "Princess Leora, the council requests your presence. A delegation from a nearby planet seeks your guidance. They have heard of your victories and wish to discuss defensive strategies." Leora exchanged a glance with Marcus. "It seems our work is never done," she said, her tone calm but determined. Marcus chuckled. "And that's exactly why you're ready." The council chamber was grand, with high ceilings and glowing runes etched into the walls. Alien delegates from other planets had gathered, their faces a mixture of curiosity and respect. They had come to learn from Leora, the princess who had once been mocked. Leora stepped forward confidently. She outlined strategies, shared insights, and demonstrated tactics that relied on agility, observation, and creative thinking rather than brute force. Marcus watched silently, proud of her calm and authority. Her words carried weight and her audience listened attentively, taking notes and asking questions. One delegate asked, "Your forces defeated a superior enemy with fewer numbers. How did you achieve such success?" Leora took a deep breath. "We relied on understanding our enemy, using the terrain wisely, and trusting each other. Strength alone is never enough. Teamwork, strategy, and courage can turn the tide." The delegates nodded. Many whispered among themselves, impressed by her insight. Marcus quietly smiled, knowing how far she had come. After the meeting, Leora and Marcus returned to the training grounds. Leora's expression was thoughtful. "They will be watching Erendor closely now. If another enemy appears, they will be prepared." Marcus nodded. "And you'll be ready to lead them if needed. You've trained your people well." Leora looked out over the horizon. "It's strange. I used to be afraid of being seen as weak. Now I worry about being strong enough for everyone else." Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. "That's a good worry. It means you care. But remember, you're not alone. You have allies and you've built a team that trusts you. That's what makes a true leader." The next challenge came sooner than expected. A distant planet, known for its mercenary forces, had begun raids on the outskirts of Erendor's territory. Reports indicated that the attackers were organized, ruthless, and well-equipped. Leora called an emergency council with Marcus and her top commanders. "This is different," she said, her voice steady. "They are not just a small raiding party. They are disciplined, trained fighters. We cannot rely on the same strategies we used before." Marcus nodded. "Then we adapt. We use everything you've learned, everything your people have practiced. This is your chance to show that Erendor's strength goes beyond one battle." Over the next days, Marcus and Leora worked tirelessly. They analyzed enemy patterns, designed clever formations, and drilled the warriors in advanced maneuvers. Leora led by example, demonstrating every tactic herself, showing her soldiers that no risk was too great when executed carefully and with precision. When the enemy arrived, the battle was intense. Marcus stayed on the high ground, coordinating the strategy, while Leora moved on the front lines. She led squads through clever flanking moves, setting traps that the mercenaries didn't expect. Her agility and sharp observation allowed her to strike at the enemy's weak points, disrupting their formations repeatedly. One critical moment arrived when a group of mercenaries attempted to breach the palace gates. Leora reacted instantly, sending a small team to intercept while she guided the main defenders. Using her knowledge of the terrain and quick thinking, she blocked the breach, forcing the mercenaries to retreat. Marcus watched in awe. Every move Leora made reflected not only skill but intuition. She had learned to trust herself, and her instincts were sharp. Soldiers followed her orders without hesitation, inspired by her confidence and clarity. By the end of the battle, the enemy forces had been repelled completely. Erendor's defenses remained intact, and no major losses had occurred. The alien leaders, once skeptical of her abilities, now openly praised her. "You have done more than we could have imagined," one elder said. "You are no longer just a princess. You are a leader, a warrior, and a symbol of hope for all of Erendor." Leora smiled, a mix of humility and pride. She turned to Marcus. I couldn't have done it without you. You taught me to see my own strength. Marcus shook his head. You had the strength all along. I only helped you bring it out. As peace returned once more, Leora continued to train her people. Under her guidance, Erendor became stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. Marcus eventually prepared to leave, knowing that her leadership was secure. On his last day, Marcus and Leora stood on the palace terrace, overlooking the city and the twin moons above. You're ready, Marcus said simply. Leora nodded. I will never forget what you taught me. And I will continue to lead, to protect, and to inspire. Marcus smiled. And I will never forget what you taught me, too. That strength can come from the most unexpected places, and that belief can change someone's life forever. They shook hands, a gesture that carried respect, trust, and friendship. Marcus departed from Erendor, leaving Leora to continue her journey. Months turned into years. Leora's name became known across neighboring planets. She led her people through challenges, defended her planet, and mentored others just as Marcus had mentored her. She became the strongest ally not only to Marcus, but to all who sought guidance, courage, and leadership. And somewhere across the stars, Marcus looked back at Erendor from his ship, smiling to himself. The girl everyone had once mocked had become a true hero, a testament to the power of belief, trust, and perseverance. Leora stood on her balcony that night looking at the distant stars. She remembered the days when she had been laughed at, the first moments of training, the battles she had faced. She had grown stronger, not just in skill, but in heart and mind. She whispered quietly, almost to herself, I am ready. The universe had tested her, challenged her, and watched as she rose beyond expectations. And Leora knew that whatever came next, she would face it with courage, intelligence, and unwavering determination. She had become more than anyone imagined, the strongest ally anyone could ever have. Months had passed since Erendor had successfully defended itself from the mercenary raids. Leora had become not just a warrior, but a leader and mentor for her people. Under her guidance, training had intensified and new strategies were developed to strengthen the defense forces. Marcus, though no longer on the planet full-time, remained close in communication, offering guidance and advice from afar. But peace, as Marcus and Leora both knew, was never permanent. A neighboring coalition of planets, envious of Erendor's growing influence and clever tactics, began testing the borders. Small skirmishes broke out, but nothing had escalated into full war, yet. One morning, Leora stood on the palace terrace, observing the horizon. The twin moons cast a soft silver glow, and the alien city below stirred with life. Soldiers marched in organized formations, while citizens went about their daily routines. Leora's mind, however, was elsewhere. Reports of small incursions had been coming in steadily, and she knew it was only a matter of time before a larger threat appeared. Marcus arrived shortly afterward, stepping lightly onto the terrace. I see the concern in your eyes, he said, noting the tension in her posture. Leora sighed. The coalition has grown bold. They are testing us constantly, trying to find weaknesses. I fear they are planning something bigger. Marcus nodded. Then it's time to prepare. Not just for defense, but for leadership. You must show your people they can trust you, not only in battle, but in decision-making. Leora met his gaze. I am ready, she said firmly, though inside a flicker of doubt remained. She had led victories before, but the pressure of anticipating an entire coalition's strategy weighed heavily on her. The council gathered later that day. Alien leaders and commanders discussed the intelligence reports. Leora spoke with confidence. We must strengthen our borders, yes, but we must also act wisely. Rushing in with force alone will only provoke them. We need scouts, careful observation, and contingency plans. One elder frowned. Your suggestions are unconventional. Are you certain they will work? Leora met his gaze calmly. Experience has taught me that unconventional strategies can save more lives than blind strength. Trust in the warriors you have trained. Trust in me." Marcus watched from the side, silently proud. Leora's voice carried authority, and even the skeptical elder felt the weight of her conviction. Over the next few weeks, Leora and Marcus worked closely with the soldiers and leaders. She implemented scouting missions, intelligence-gathering exercises, and simulated attacks to prepare for multiple scenarios. Leora herself led several reconnaissance teams, observing enemy positions and testing potential responses. Through these missions, Leora discovered that the coalition was planning a coordinated attack on multiple border cities simultaneously. The scale was unlike anything she had faced before. She shared her findings with the council. "We cannot defend each city individually," she said. "We must focus on strategic points, concentrate our forces, and strike decisively where it matters most. Divide and conquer, but timing is everything." Marcus leaned over her shoulder, nodding. "You're thinking ahead. Good. But remember, leaders also need to inspire confidence. Your people must believe in your plan, not just follow it blindly." Leora took a deep breath. She gathered the soldiers and commanders in the central plaza. Thousands of eyes turned toward her, curious, expectant, and some still skeptical. "You have trained hard," she began. "You have grown stronger, smarter, and braver than ever before. Now our enemy tests us. They believe they can intimidate us, overwhelm us with numbers. But they do not understand what we have built here. They do not know our strength, our strategy, and our unity." The crowd listened intently. Leora's voice grew stronger, filled with determination. "I will lead you, and together we will defend our homes, our families, and our people. We will not falter. We will show them that underestimating us was their first mistake." A cheer rose from the crowd. Marcus watched, silently smiling. Leora's words had turned fear into resolve. The coalition's forces arrived at the border days later. This time, it was no longer small skirmishes. Hundreds of ships, heavily armed, approached Erendor's planet. Leora had positioned her forces strategically, anticipating their approach. Scouts reported the enemy's movements with precision, and Leora made quick adjustments to her plans. The first wave of attackers advanced toward the outer city defenses. Leora was at the command post, coordinating squads, issuing orders with calm authority. Soldiers moved quickly, guided by her insight, forming traps and counterattacks that the enemy had not predicted. During a critical moment, a section of the enemy's fleet attempted to flank the main city. Leora acted instantly, redirecting her units to intercept, while Marcus relayed tactical advice from the observation tower. The coordinated effort surprised the attackers, forcing them to retreat in disarray. Amid the chaos, Leora noticed a group of enemy command ships attempting to bypass defenses entirely. She quickly gathered a small elite team, including her most trusted warriors, and led a swift strike. Using speed, agility, and precise tactics, they disabled the command ship's control systems, creating confusion in the enemy ranks. Marcus watched her movements closely. Every decision she made reflected not only her training but her natural intuition and courage. She had become more than a warrior. She was a leader who could think, adapt, and inspire in the heat of battle. As the battle raged, the coalition forces began to falter. Their attacks became disorganized, and their troops struggled to adapt to Leora's strategies. Slowly but surely, Erendor's forces gained the upper hand. By the end of the day, the coalition's fleet had been forced to retreat. Erendor had defended its borders successfully, with minimal losses. Soldiers cheered, celebrating their victory, while the alien leaders approached Leora with admiration and gratitude. "You have done more than we could have imagined," one elder said. "Your leadership, your strategies, and your courage have saved countless lives. You are a true leader of Erendor." Leora felt a surge of pride, tempered by humility. "I could not have done this alone." every soldier, every commander, and Marcus. Without their guidance and support, none of this would have been possible. Marcus smiled. You've grown beyond what anyone expected. You are ready for any challenge. In the weeks that followed, Leora focused on strengthening alliances with neighboring planets, sharing knowledge and strategies to ensure Erendor's continued safety. She became a symbol of resilience, intelligence, and courage, a princess who had transformed into a leader her people could trust completely. One evening, Marcus returned to Erendor for a brief visit. He found Leora training a group of young recruits in the palace arena. She moved with confidence and authority, guiding each soldier with patience and precision. You never stop, Marcus said with a grin. Leora laughed lightly. Leadership never rests, we must always be ready, Marcus nodded. And yet, you inspire your people. They follow you willingly, not out of fear but respect. That is true leadership. Leora paused, wiping sweat from her brow. I still learn every day. Every challenge teaches me something new, and I will continue to learn as long as I can. Marcus placed a hand on her shoulder. That is why you are the strongest ally anyone could have, not just for me but for all who depend on Erendor. You have turned doubt into confidence, weakness into strength, and fear into courage. Leora looked at him with gratitude. I never imagined I would come this far. From being the one everyone laughed at to now, I feel like I can face anything, Marcus smiled. And you can. Remember, strength comes not just from skill but from trust, courage, and heart. You have all three in abundance. As night fell over the planet, the twin moons casting silver light across the city, Leora stood on the palace terrace. She looked at the stars and reflected on her journey. She had faced ridicule, doubt, and fear, but she had overcome them all. She had become a leader, a warrior, and an inspiration. Erendor was safe, its people united and strong, and she had earned their respect. She knew challenges would continue to come, but she was ready. She had Marcus, her warriors, and her own inner strength to guide her. And with that, Leora whispered quietly to herself, I am ready for whatever comes next. The universe had tested her repeatedly, but Leora had risen beyond expectations. She was no longer the weakest. She was the strongest ally anyone could have, a symbol of courage, intelligence, and hope. And somewhere across the stars, Marcus watched from afar, smiling quietly. He had seen her potential when no one else did. And now, the girl who had once been laughed at had become a true hero, not just for Erendor, but for all who witnessed her rise.